Good morning and welcome to the 13th episode of the hour-long series on health issues brought to you by IHL Wellness in association with HEAL. We are live on YouTube. I am Shankar Raj, President of the New Delhi-based HEAL Foundation, and today's topic for discussion is heart health, preventive measures and strategies. India is sometimes referred to as the heart ailment capital of the world due to rising incidence of heart ailments. India accounts for at least one-fifth of the 17.9 million cardiovascular disease-related deaths globally, especially in the younger generation. An unhealthy lifestyle, unbalanced diet, stress, smoking, and drinking are some of the common causes cited as the biggest contributors to heart problems in younger people. And COVID has only accelerated the process of lifestyle changes as people had to recalibrate their lives. People may have high cholesterol or high blood pressure without showing any symptoms, which are risk factors for heart disease. But there is good news. Heart ailments can be prevented through regular checkups, and today, preventing heart attacks and stroke has been made easier by the use of artificial intelligence and high-tech tools. We also now have a method to calculate heart health scores with a heart health calculator, on which this session will be dealing with in detail. The unique IHL heart health calculator, which is based on the MyClinic health system. To speak more on the heart and the most efficient pump in the world, sometimes runs into trouble, we have with us Dr. Mohsin Wali, a senior cardiologist and former honorary physician to the late President R. Venkatraman, and Sri Shankar Dayal Sharma, serving physician to the late President Pranab Mukherjee. His first assignment as a physician to the President of India was with Sri R. Venkatraman at the age of 33, making him the youngest physician to serve an Indian president. He is also the physician to have served 3 presidents of India. The government of India awarded him the 4th highest civilian honor of the Padma Shri in 2007 for his contributions to Indian medicines. Also joining us is Dr. Satyendra Goyal from Chicago, the founder and CEO of India Health Link, the world's first consumer-centric health and wellness platform. He has spent 15 years in the healthcare ecosystem in various roles, including Chief Science Officer of Colibra, a data intelligence company, medical school faculty at Northwestern universities, and as an advisor to several healthcare companies. Also, we have with us Dr. Dheeraj Gundotra, is the Additional Director, Cardiac Sciences at Fortis Hospital, Noida. Last but not the least, we have with us Dr. Sadiq Azam, a consultant cardiologist at KIMS Hospital in Hyderabad. Welcome all the panelists.
Thank you, sir.
I will start with you, Dr. Wali.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome. I'll start with you, Dr. Wali. Today's topic is heart health, preventive measures, and strategies. So, what are the preventive steps one has to take to keep the heart happy? And secondly, what are the strategies to be taken once the heart is in trouble?
Thank you, sir. At the outset, you have very rightly pointed out that heart diseases and deaths due to the heart diseases are preventable. So we have to work hard in this direction. And we had 6 best friends, and they should remain our 6 best friends, like sunlight, adequate rest, exercise, self-confidence, and most importantly, when we talk of lifestyle modifications, diet, and have good friends and maintain them in all stages of life. When we talk of the root causes of the cardiac ailments, and especially we are talking in context with India, and you have very rightly again pointed out that it existed before COVID too. It is not that suddenly after COVID the discussions have started due to certain very, very intricately placed and very much telescoped deaths, if we mark them on calendar. I would recall that death of several people took place in the first part of the last month, and they were in succession for 3 days, 6th, 7th, 8th of the last month. And one of them was playing, one of them was singing on a birthday party. He was Murli Mohapatra, then role of Hanuman done by Mr. Ram Sarup, and role of Parvati done by Mr. Yogesh Gupta. They were in succession. 3 days we kept hearing the news, and we talked about on various channels. And we should recall that SAP MD, Mr. Ranjan Das, Puneet Rajkumar, Shane Warren, Siddharth Shukla. Yeah, the list is too long. Even our poet Rahat Indori died. His death is also related to post-COVID. Pankaj Srivastava, CEO of Grab House. I'm talking because these people know them, Cristiano Jr. and our Ankur Bhatia Bird Group CEO. And very recently, a Garba dancer, Manish Senigra, at the age of 35, collapsed. And when the news reached to his home, his 66-year-old father, Narabji Sahingra, died. And these were two successive deaths. So what is the right answer to your question is that if we work on these 7 steps, which I've printed on my letterhead of the prescription, I made all the patients read them. Stop smoking is number 1. Stop fatty fried foods is number 2. Stop getting overstressed is number 3. Control blood pressure, blood sugar, and cholesterol with uric acid is number 4. Control your temper is number 5. Take plenty of green vegetables, fresh fruits, and salads is number 6. And take regular walks and guided exercise. I've added the word guided now because we have seen the exercise disasters also. So these are the basically 7 main strategies which cover the preventive side of the heart disease. And I think to which I am going to add today that our behavior of the body, mental attitude, and the thinking patterns also affect the cardiac ailments. We have become impulsive. Our young generation is getting angry, arrogant. Sometimes society have people who have greed, jealousy, hatred, despair, indecisiveness, delusions, and lethargy. These should be replaced by modesty, kindness, love, hope, patience, wisdom, integrity, forgiveness, perseverance, and self-regulation. So I'm a little spiritual in saying this because the heart is governed by all these impulses, which also have an effect on the brain neurotransmitters, and benefits of practice of these good qualities have been amply seen and proved that the heart gets peace and the heart gets a state of so-called non-flight, what we call the state of rest, because all the accidents, all the sudden changes in the body take place due to flight and fight mode. And to reverse this, I was just talking to you about a quote. And as Maharishi Valmiki says, Ramadivat Vartitayam, Ramanadivat Paravartitayam. So acquire and behave like Lord Rama means the qualities which Lord Rama has propagated and followed, and his followers have taught us. So if we regulate the whole body through the yoga, through pranayam, through various asanas, through our regulated habits, I'm addressing this for young generation because young generation has become too fast, too energetic. So if we practice these, I may be sounding a little spiritual, but the fact of life remains this, that we have to follow our ancient gurus, ancient teachings, and what India stands for. And that would be very beneficial for prolonging life and having control over this deadly disease. Of course, COVID has accelerated the cardiac deaths. We have been seeing them day to day. Forgive me to say that last week when I went for a funeral of my dear friend's son who died at a young age post-COVID. In that Shamshan, whenever I visited, I used to see one or two chitas lit. But that day there were 8 successive chitas lit. And they were seeming to be lit at the same time. So every day the deaths have multiplied. And this is a fact which I witnessed because I've been a regular visitor. I always go in the funerals of friends. And this serious change I've noticed last time when I visited. And this has some meaning to me. This has some meaning relevant for the deaths at the young age, relevant for the premature deaths. And this all can be prevented. So you have chosen the right platform and right topic and right field that we have been revising our lessons. I always come to your talks to learn from the speakers. And this is a very persistent effort in this direction. And last night I was talking on Doordarshan National Channel on the same topic in Ministry of Health's sponsored health program. And I was stressing that countries like America, they have defibrillators installed, which India needs to do now in hotels and in schools, in offices, at metro platforms, in hospitals even, at every floor, and at the places where there is more public, and airports inclusive. And people should be trained to use them. Of course, using them is not very difficult. Abroad, drones are doing this service, and we are lagging behind for having this purposeful machine at the places where it should exist. And it can save many lives. We have been recently talking sudden cardiac deaths. We had been previously talking about heart attacks and door to cath lab time, home to cath lab time. But now we have to save the life within 3 minutes. Heart does not wait for more than 3 minutes. And therefore, we should be amply talking about, maybe in our next session, we should be talking about CPR and the need to learn CPR, because CPR has to be learned to the state of madness. I've started now saying that everybody should know CPR. Everybody should learn how to do CPR. And God forbid, we may face such a situation at our home, school, office, anywhere on the road, and we can save life. And once a life is saved, even the cost of the equipment is recovered and it's worthy. It is more precious. Life is more precious than the cost of installation of a defibrillator. So, sir, I would repeat that smoking, the biggest disaster, bad food, junk food, stress, blood pressure, diabetes, dyslipidemia, losing temper, eating wrong, and lack of exercise. Last night, a listener called. It was a phone-in program, and his question was, "I'm not doing exercise for last 2.5 years after COVID." I said, "What makes you prevent not doing exercise after COVID? You are breathing after COVID. You are walking after COVID. You are going to toilet after COVID. You are eating after COVID. So why the exercise part is missing from your life if you were regularly doing so before COVID?" So this is just to invite the attention of listeners. We know all, but it's not an excuse to leave exercise. It requires very little time, and half an hour, 25 minutes, 5 days a week, optimally. And with a rider now, that supervised exercise. So all this is my humble submission when we talk about sudden cardiac deaths, reasons and factors behind. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Wali. Now, added to your preventive strategies, we have a very important panelist over here, Dr. Satyendra Goyal. Now, he has got what is called the IHL. He has introduced the IHL Health Counter. So, Dr. Goyal, can you tell us more about what exactly is this health counter?
Yeah, thanks, Shankarji, first of all for inviting me to talk about what we just recently launched as India Health Link in India, the first time what we call a heart health risk calculator. Now, obviously, all of the eminent doctors who are present on the panel This is not news to them. I think they've all heard about Framingham score and ACCFD, CVD launched by AHA. But these are the things which has been available to all the medical fraternity for a long time. But what we, as Dr. Walia was saying, what we need to do is to educate common people before it is too late. Because in India, and I think everywhere, not only in India, heart health has become something people think about when they are either sick or most likely it is too late, right? And the what we are as an IHL in a wellness domain and the preventive care spectrum, what we want everyone, every adult at the age of 18 and above, should be able to keep track of their health in general. And we talk about heart health. The parameters are very simple. Hypertension, which is a stress level. You don't need to always have the cholesterol level with you, but you always know what your lifestyle look like, whether you're a smoker or a non-smoker, whether you're a family history of any heart event in the past, or you are on anyone in the family has any kind of medication. So if you collectively have that information, you can use our freely available via our app, what we call heart health or heart health meter or heart health risk calculator, which will tell you in general whether you're 25 years of age, 30 years of age, whether you have ever seen a doctor or not, just by entering a simple value of your blood pressure or weight, height, just general lifestyle habits, that what is your heart risk is that you may get an event in 10 years or 30 years or 5 years, right? Not necessarily that is saying that you will get a heart attack. It's not that. It's that idea that what is the risk to your body? And that information is very, very pertinent from our perspective that can basically stop or basically reduce the risk which you might have in the future. So let's say your blood pressure is in a abnormal range. You're not hypertensive, but maybe you're in an abnormal range. We are able to then tell you that maybe you need to change your lifestyle. And then based on the lifestyle, you should be able to track whether that brings you to normal range. So just maybe, as Dr. Walia said, maybe you need to do 25 minutes of exercise every day. Exercise could be just walking. Maybe you need to reduce the type of food you're eating. So when we call heart health meter, that is our attempt to launch in India a simple educational informational tool which everybody can use, especially the people who are going to office and don't think that they need to evaluate their heart health risk, right? They go to gym every day, but they don't know whether that particular exercise that day for an hour of high intensity exercise is good for their body or not. It's good in general, but may not be good that day. Maybe their stress levels are very high. And that is where those events which has happened in the past is likely to occur. So when you talk about heart health risk calculator by IHL, that is our attempt to provide the tool to every common man, the common person, man, woman in India, so they can actually gauge what their risk is. And based on that gauge, we provide some recommendations. We are not in the business of saying you should do that. We're just giving you tools and technologies so that you can take the risk, calculate the risk, get the information, follow the steps, and be healthy. So that's what it is.
Is this a standalone model or is it on a mobile?
It is on a mobile. So we also have a medical device, what we call health kiosk. So both of our mobile app, which is IHL Care, as well as our kiosk actually also do your blood pressure and other readings which are crucial for calculating this score. But this is through our Android and Apple app.
And India speaks in multiple languages. So is this friendly for other areas also?
It is. So our kiosk basically is available in all 12 main languages in India. So anybody can use it in their vicinity and get this score done.
This is based on a Mayo Clinic platform which they developed. And what is their experience on this? Were they able? Do you have sort of a tangible data that says that they'll be able to prevent so many number of heart attacks or anything to that?
So basically, Mayo Clinic has this. So we have adopted the similar technology as they have built out. But this is a risk score calculator, which is not Mayo Clinic. It's basically a Framingham study, which is being worldwide followed for decades. But Framingham study was done way 30, 40 years ago. So obviously the data that time was not that prevalently available, and obviously the things have advanced. So what now we have done is we have taken Framingham study as well as the update on that study, plus the ACCVD, which is the American Heart Association recent, the published calculator, what you call. So we have combined all of that to be able to get to the best accurate, what we call predictions, which we can provide in terms of risk calculator. It's a risk calculator. It's not saying it's going to happen. It's a probability that it may happen based on your vitals, based on your, as I said, family history and the lifestyle. So to your point, Shankarji, in terms of the life saving, it's about information. This is a freely available calculator. So obviously, once you have the risk, what you do with it, they don't get the feedback. So we wouldn't be able to tell what it has done. But I can tell you that this is the worldwide most adopted the calculator which has been followed. And I would say all the eminent doctors probably will agree with me that these are the Birmingham and the ACCVD is the gold standard.
And is this free or is it on payment basis?
It's free.
Okay. Dr. Wali, would you like to ask something or add something to this calculator?
Well, artificial intelligence has a great role to play these days, and if we can utilize the statistics, I fully agree with Dr. Goel that the Mayo Clinic program has also even developed how to find out from ECG with the help of artificial intelligence. And I am very happy to know that there was a study done recently with response to sudden deaths, and they have put that long haulers, when they found out their exercise capability and they applied artificial intelligence by simple ECG, they could stratify the risk as well. And I fully agree with lipid profile has less importance than our BMI and then our weight, our belt size. Simply seeing the belt holes when a patient lies down for my examination and I see the belt holes are getting covered, I say, sir, you have put on at least 6 kg of weight if your 2 holes are ahead. And similarly, patients who lose weight through exercise or due to other problems, their belt size goes backwards. And I can see the old holes and a new hole which is working, which is 2 or 3 holes back in the belt. So we can roughly estimate while talking to patient that this is our artificial intelligence or evident intelligence. And the same thing machines do for us. And we have been greatly helped in CT scans when we were talking and debating on whether to do CT scan in a COVID patient or not. And now I see that even patients who have not suffered with COVID, not documented suffering with COVID, they have changes in their CT scans. And so many new things we are learning. So I fully agree that based on this very reliable Framingham studies, role of previous CVDs, this is what Mayo Clinic program says, hypertension, obesity, diabetes, thyroid disorders I have included, their history of smoking. All this adds to our, we are not predictors, but we can say, impress the patient that, look here, you stand here. It's up to you whether you leave smoking or not. People sit in front of me on that chair. This is my examination room talking to patient, and they come with an ECG of acute myocardial infarction and they are still smoking. So this is disastrous. I write with red pen. I keep always red pen and I write patient is still smoking and he has an acute MI. And one patient did the extreme. He showed me, got an ECG, got treated. I gave him preliminary first aid, went down, sat into the car, normal ECG so far. He smoked 4 puffs, came back with acute MI. It happened 3 months back. So this is how this stratification of risk helps us and saves life. This is wonderful and it's cost effective. I would say it is free. And this is people want to know. But I say people know, they don't follow. Preventive steps for heart disease is known by all, followed by none. I say it now like this because all of us can give a lecture, but when it comes to eat a good food in a dinner, we can't control it. It's a human nature. I won't blame anyone. But I tell to my patient, if you get something nice dish which you like, dish of your choice. Eat less, keep it for the next day, and earn your meal for next day, and then you consume it. So this is a kind of discipline we have to observe. Otherwise, we are losing very useful lives, very precious lives at young age, and there would be no replacement. See, this pains that we talk and people don't follow, and there is lot which can be done. I have seen even Ayurveda helps. Last night when I was delivering that program in Doordarshan studio, suddenly PM Modi's advertisement came, which he was promoting to Ayurveda. So even in Ayurveda, we have documented papers published on Arjuna, and Arjun definitely helps. Post-COVID chest symptoms, which I had, I do advise to my patients for years and decades. But when I tried on myself, I got improvement. So these things need to be further researched at laboratories like at Mayo Clinic and their beneficial effects. We had published certain papers in 1997 in Indian Heart Journal about benefits of Arjuna. And you see, these things should also be incorporated, and our Honorable Prime Minister wants that we should take the advantage of all the pathies, especially Ayurveda, which has a great deal of it, plus yoga, plus also discipline, self-discipline, and plus our Vedas, our Rishi Munis. So it is a holistic approach. It sounds very nice to me when I talked about the shloka of Maharishi Valmiki. See, it has a big message. It has a big message. And what I enumerated, all those bad traits and good traits, this is most valuable in medicine, because I have seen people running due to stress and suffering. Most of the youngsters, they don't keep time. Last night, my son was telling me, Papa, why you wake me up? I just need 10 minutes to get ready. I said, no. I have seen President Venkatraman getting ready, waiting for ADC. If he has to go in the office at 10 o'clock, he would be ready at 9:45. And 15 minutes, he would see the watch when the ADC is coming to pick him up. This was the kind of discipline. He lived 97 years. Why? Because he was always before time. This is what I learned. And once he called me, this is important. I always remember this. And to check the blood sugar at the third day of my appointment with him. And 6 o'clock, he used to get his blood sugar checked. And I reached at 2 minutes past 6. His attendant smilingly opened the door and said, Saab has taken coffee. Please, we will do it later. This was the first lesson. That if you are 2 minutes late, it makes a big difference. The next day and from the next day, I never got late. I have seen at Mayo Clinic when I took Mr. VP Singh, he had a habit of napping. We had an appointment, and when I went to the reception counter, the receptionist said, Sir, you are late. And it was very difficult for Mr. VP Singh to listen to this statement, because like in India, he said I would be given priority or given way to enter. But he was late by 7 minutes, and then he had to wait for 20 minutes for the next appointment. So this is the value of time, and our young generation especially needs to learn. And this gives lot of good feeling in my body, in my brain, in my exercise, in my day-to-day life, in my attitude. If we are on time, if we are before time, so lot of adrenaline secretion is prevented and our body doesn't suffer. You see, these small dents due to the stress, they harm us. And what we see is a cumulative effect of the whole day's stress, or of weeks' stress, months' stress, years' stress on our body.
Yeah, thank you. And Dr. Wali, as you rightly said, people all know about what exactly is what should be prevented. But the issue is, you see, the man sitting in a cubicle will always feel that the man sitting in the next cubicle is a candidate for heart attack, or a neighbor is a candidate for heart attack, but not oneself. I think there's a sort of a confidence that he doesn't have anything, but heart cannot spare anyone. Thank you for your inputs.
Just give me 30 seconds.
Yes.
Last night when I was delivering,
Yeah.
factors which cause a cardiac event, they accumulate over the time period. And when suddenly there is either rupture of the plaque or suddenly occlusion of the vessel, it causes sudden effect, either a sudden cardiac death or a myocardial infarction. That is why it is called attack. So the enemy is sitting within, but it attacks at a particular time. So we have to kill the enemy before it attacks.
That's right. That's right.
So that's how I learned last night that it is called attack, heart attack.
Yeah. Dr. Dheeraj, sorry for keeping you waiting for such a long time. What exactly is preventive cardiology? Now, is there a department called preventive cardiology in hospitals, or is it just interventional cardiology, cardiothoracic surgeries and other things? Is there a department of preventive cardiology?
Yeah, good morning, sir. Thanks for inviting me here. It's a great luminaries talking about preventive health. So first of all, department is there in all of the big hospitals around the world, and in India also. We also have a preventive health department, and we have an intervention cardiology department, and cardiology is now bifurcated into multiple divisions. Preventive health is the most important aspect. If you allow me, the sir has talked about the ancient times, Vedic times. I would just I have a graph which shows that we evolved from which was called Adi Manav, where we had to get up early in the morning to hunt for food, to hunt for even going to the toilets, to take bath. And now it has been replaced by all the machines, all the gadgets which we have. Wonderful to have machines, but we have become couch potatoes. Now, even for switching on the fan, we have a remote. For TV, we have a remote. For everything, we have a remote. We can order food sitting on our chair. We don't go for getting milk, for buying anything. So now we have become slaves of these machines. I keep telling my patients, don't become slaves. Wonderful, you have gadgets, but we have lost the art of walking. We have lost the art of doing physical exercise. So I would, as the sir has given 7 things, I would say that if we consider body as a full chakra or a round thing, sir, the more than 70% of the lifestyle diseases are due to our diet. Be it a heart attack, be it diabetes, be it obesity, be it strokes, all these factors are related to our diet. And I have devised a formula. I have devised a mnemonic where I keep telling people, if you avoid 5 things along with other risk factors in diet, you will never have a heart attack. And these are, please remember, these are makhan related products in Hindi, the mithai, meat, which is the red meat or a thick meat. So makhan, malai, meat and mithai. These are the 4 things which are dangerous for your health. Avoid this and you will be having a good health. The 5th thing which I add is the madira or alcohol. So this is dangerous. People keep telling, sir, this is a healthy drink. No, this is not. That healthy drink component is just a red wine or a small amount of alcohol which people take, but nobody takes those things. Along with alcohol, you have multiple things. So these are the 5 things in the diet. If we avoid, we will have a healthy life. Then is the walking. People say that we do exercise, but we do not lose weight. Sir, it has to be a power exercise. Power exercise means you have to walk swift, you have to walk brisk, and it has to be regular. Now, if you allow me, exercise has to start in a very, very graduated manner. That means start exercising 5 to 10 minutes in a day, increase it in 15-20 days so that you can walk about 30 to 35 minutes every day. And then another thing is about smoking, sir. Everybody keeps telling, I don't smoke. But in India, sir, if you dwell deep into the history, aram se history lenge, there are so many forms of tobacco which are there prevalent in our country. It starts from pan, it starts from gutka, bidis, and there's so many forms of tobacco which we have. So that all forms should be avoided, sir. And all these. Then another thing which came from a very big study, people are talking of Framingham and all, there was an inter-heart study which was conducted on Southeast Asians. And the other risk factors were lack of intake of fruits and vegetables. So that's also an important aspect. They have antioxidants, they have multiple things. So these should always be incorporated. If we control our diet, do exercise daily, no smoking, keep our cholesterol in check. And then there's certain myths. One of the myths is, sir, if we are on a cholesterol diet, we can have anything in our, if we have anti-cholesterol pills, we can have anything in our diet. That's also a myth. If we are hypertensive, we can control by different measures. Yes, you can, but take your pills so that you reach your levels. Then once you have a heart attack, you have to be on your pills or on your medication for long. Another myth which I would just like to, the last one is, Sir, I have a heart attack. I cannot exercise. No, there are ways and means. There are risk stratifications. First week after a heart attack, we keep telling you just maintain a normal walk around your home. By the end of first week, if your everything is normal, your heart function is normal, you have to exercise like a normal person. So preventive aspect is very, very important, sir. ASGVT risk calculator is important. This new app which has come up, developed by Dr. Goyal, is very, very important for a country like India, because we have young heart attacks, sir. We have heart attacks at the age of 30. So if we prevent our productive young age, our productive population is free from disease, and we can be productive to our society and the country. Thank you so much, sir.
And Dr. Dheeraj, you did very, very well mention that about Makhan and about meat and Madhira and other things. I think one more important thing is Nidra. Next to M is N. I think sleep is also an important factor for...
So if you allow me, sir, there are two more risk factors. One is sleep and another is stress, sir. So sleep pattern has to be consistent. I mean, people keep telling me, sir, 2 hours I sleep in the night, 2 hours I sleep in the daytime, and then I sleep in the night, interrupted sleep. So it has to be uninterrupted sleep, sir. And that's very important. If we do not have sleep, we'll not concentrate on work, we'll not acquire new memories, we'll be irritable, if we are driving, we'll have more accidents. Other things are stress. Everybody keeps talking. If you talk to anyone, your colleague, your family member, sir, I am stressed. The first thing, if you are stressed, is identify your stresses. So stress can be at school level, sir, in a child. It can be interpersonal relationships. It can be financial. It can be the workplace. Even if your workplace is not good, that means you have a heap of files on your table, you will have a stress, sir. Inadequate lighting is bad. Inadequate, the worst air, this all adds to the stress levels, sir.
Yeah, fine. I think that's also extremely important. But I also want to recall one more thing is that Dr. Wali mentioned that one of the good things or strategies that we should have in life is to have good friends. So what is the link between mental health, having good friends, depression and other aspects, and heart attack, heart ailments?
If you have good friends, sir, they are a preventive. I think that this is a preventive strategy for our health. Do go with your friends, do go for outings, sir. One of the ways of countering stress is guided imagery. Guided imagery is look for good times, look for good things. Go have outings. Do have the family get-togethers. The loneliness is a killer, sir. We all have felt during our education times, during our training times. You need somebody. Somebody comes, just taps your head. Yeah, it will be done. It will be okay. So we feel great, sir. The good hormones, the adrenalines, the dopamines, they are released once you get a hug from somebody who's very dear or close to you. So this really helps.
Quite right. In fact, in the UK, they have what is called a ministry for loneliness, to take care of people who are lonely. Very, very important aspect, probably, which India should also look into, because we have extremely lonely population thanks to the new generation going for work, both the husband and wife. That's a very important aspect. I'll come to Dr. Sadiq now. Doctor, welcome. Sorry for keeping you waiting for this long. Dr. Sadiq. Yeah, welcome. My good old friend from Hyderabad. Yes.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah. So, Dr. Azam, what are the most common inherited heart conditions, and can they be rectified at an early age?
Yes. So when we talk about inherited heart disease, there are two aspects to it. One is they're talking about structural defects in the heart, which can be diseases like, for example, if there is a family history of septal defects or cyanotic heart diseases, there is around a 20% chance that if it's on the maternal side, that the child also will suffer from these diseases. Now, these diseases are very easy to pick up at birth because by any astute clinician, thorough clinical examination often gives a clue, presence of a heart, pathological heart murmur at birth. Today, there is a very robust ultrasound screening programs that happen in the intrauterine phase itself, where these type of congenital anomalies, structural defects are picked up. and some of them are incompatible with life, so they do them as anomaly scans before the fetus reaches viability to decide that proceed with the pregnancy or not. Now, there are diseases that are compatible with life when the child is born, and then most of them can be fixed either at an elective state once the child gains a certain amount of weight, or they can be fixed even as an emergency procedure as soon as the child is born. Now, fetal cardiology has also progressed, and there is a lot of growth in the field of fetal interventions, where there are certain defects which are picked up later on once the fetus has crossed viability, when abortion is no longer an option, and where you can actually intervene intrauterine to try and fix a problem which would otherwise have led to intrauterine death. So that you give the child a chance to survive and be born, and then you can do the final corrective surgery later. So there's a lot of improvements, a lot of advancements that have happened in the field of this fetal medicine per se. Now, coming to defects which are detected after birth, if there are structural defects, yes, majority of them are identifiable and fixable once the child is born and reaches a certain weight and age. There are also a certain genetic, what do you say, other defects which are not really, you can't really classify them as structural defects. They are more like, the heart is not just a pump that pumps blood. It has chambers, it has electrical system, it has vascular system. Now, very often when people think of heart, they only think of heart attacks. But heart attacks are not the only disease to affect the heart. You also have arrhythmias, you have muscular diseases like cardiomyopathies. Now, these diseases are also they have a genetic basis to them. Now, if you talk about cardiomyopathy, you have things like dilated cardiomyopathies, which can run in families. You have cardiomyopathies which are related to congenital syndromes, which can have a genetic basis. There are X-linked traits which are inherited. There are autosomal dominant traits which are inherited. You have something of all these. Hypertrophic cardiomyopathy is one of the commonest genetic heart diseases that we come across, where the heart muscle becomes how to put it, it becomes thickened unexplainably. Like if there is somebody who's a chronic hypertensive, you expect the heart muscle to be thick because the heart is working against a greater pressure. But this will be a younger person who's non-hypertensive, who doesn't really have a very exercise schedule, and then you find that his muscle is thicker on a routine scan. This might be the earliest sign that you're looking at a patient who's suffering from hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, because not all HCMs have that grossly enlarged, grossly thickened septum, which you see around the fourth and fifth decade, where the septum is around 4 centimeters or 3.5 centimeters. It might just start off with a little more than normal thickness. So a high degree of suspicion is important, especially if there is the problem with hypertrophic cardiomyopathy is that it's one of the preventable causes of sudden cardiac death, because people who suffer from hypertrophic cardiomyopathy very often suffer from arrhythmias, especially ventricular arrhythmias like ventricular tachycardias, ventricular fibrillation, and which can lead to sudden cardiac death if it is not tackled at the moment it occurs. Now, a very important point over here will be history, because if there is a young person who has a history of sudden death in his family, a history of young people just dropping dead in their family, they should get screened for hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. The second thing is, if there is anybody in the family who has a diagnosis of hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, then you should screen others in the family also for hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. Then there are other arrhythmias. You have this CPVTs, which can also have a genetic traits. You have some other cardiomyopathies like limb girdle dystrophy, which can be associated with the conduction diseases, which can again, which if picked up early, can be treated adequately using pacemakers and devices. Now, coming to coronary disease, the one that everybody is worried about, heart attacks. Now, can that be genetic? Yes. If you have a family history of premature coronary artery disease, generally, men and women, women before the age of 50 and men before the age of 45 having heart attacks, then you should keep an eye out for, you should screen yourself early if you have parents who have, or your uncles or aunts who have history of somebody having a heart attack. Many patients tell us very often that father had a heart attack at 45, uncle had a heart attack at 45, brother had a heart attack at 45. Now I am turning 45. Am I at risk? You should get yourself screened, because if something has been happening so consistently in your family, then it is very likely that you are also prone for an event. And probably looking at it just before your 45th birthday is not the right thing to do. If you've been seeing people developing MIs around the age of 45 in your family, you should probably start screening yourself and modifying your lifestyle from the time you're 20, 25 itself. Because you can't reverse risk factors overnight. You can't do it in a month. You can't do it in 6 months. It will take at least a couple of years. You need to get into a good exercise schedule, manage your lipids. Another thing which is not really a heart disease but will lead to heart disease is dyslipidemia. That is hyperlipidemia, uncontrolled cholesterols that can, run in families. There are people whose triglycerides are always high, and it's a myth to say that, if I'm not overweight, I will not have high cholesterol. I mean, I have a close family friend whose weight is like, he's 60 years old. His weight will be around 50 kgs. His BMI is around 18, and his triglycerides are 600, and his LDL cholesterol is 250. So you see him, you will never guess that he is somebody who's having high cholesterol. So on the other hand, you might have people who are obese, but their cholesterol might be normal. So it's a myth to say that, the external appearance will tell who has high cholesterol or not. If you are at a high risk, and anybody above the age of 30, I would say, should get a baseline cholesterol done. And if it is abnormal, you need to work at normalizing it. Now, looking at the good cholesterol part, the HDL, there are no real drugs that have shown any increase that can increase the HDL as much as exercise can. So aerobic exercise, as sir was rightly saying, many people post-COVID have just stopped exercising. As you wonderfully said, you've not stopped breathing, you've not stopped living. Then why in God's name should you stop exercising? Please get back to exercise. If you've had a heart attack, let your first week, 10 days pass. First week, 10 days also, don't be bedridden. Very often the patient is motivated to move, but the family members are like, no, you have had a heart attack. Don't do anything. You sit in your bed. We'll get you tea. We'll get you breakfast. You don't move. Patient comes to the outpatient and says, "Arey, doctor sahab, please tell them मैं हिलना चाह रहा हूँ, मैं काम करना चाह रहा हूँ, मुझे करने नहीं दे रहे." So not only the patient, even the family needs to be motivated that heart attack is not the end of life. I mean, you take a patient to a hospital, you get an angiogram, you get an angioplasty done, you spend all that cash for what? So that the person gets back to a normal life. If you don't, then you're just inviting another attack for that patient. So you get your treatment done and then take a week probably to, just let your body get back to normal and then go back to work, start doing your routine activities, increase your exercise. So, yeah.
A major factor of preventive cardiology is that you start working early in life. And as you rightly said, you cannot change things overnight. So I'll just have a common question to all of you is, what has body shape got to do with heart attacks? For example, you have body shape of apple, pear, then you have inverted triangle, then you have the ruler. So can you predict, seeing a body, that this person is probably prone to heart attacks? Dr. Wali, starting with you, then Dr.
Yes. I would agree first with our Hyderabad friend that it could be myth also, a fat man having a normal cholesterol and a thin man can having a high cholesterol dyslipidemia. But see, generally in India, we have truncal obesity and we were taught lemon on matchstick type of obesity. And this is when we started developing it after 25 or 30 years of age. And I see people gaining weight. Our diet is mainly carbohydrates, potato and roti. And somewhere I do talk about so much roti. Even our vegetarian people don't take vegetables. They take roti with vegetables. So the diet is not vegetable, it's a roti. So more often we ingest either carbohydrates or fats, and that gives us a beautiful shape which we think is normal. When I was a child, I used to see all those businessmen, because my father used to close shop around 8 p.m. All the businessmen would pass in front of my shop, and I would feel an inferiority complex as a child that they all have phones. I miss that. I don't have that, without knowing how harmful this was. And at the end of it, I used to take 2 cokes while going home and used to breathe out and make it prominent to look like them. This happened with me at the age of 16 when I was in class 12. So what we think normal is never normal. I'm saying this because I followed this. We see the other people fat and we think they are normal. No, sorry. My wife was too slim when she was married, and she got nervous when ladies used to tell her, "तुम बहुत दुबली हो, doctor साहब कुछ खिलाता नहीं है तुमको." She used to get in tears and come home and say, "Never I'm going next time in a function like this where ladies talk." She was absolutely normal girl with a normal BMI, looking thin, and then she devised the method. She herself devised this. Whenever she would go to a party, she would catch the 2 fat ladies and say, "Didi, aap bahut moti ho gayi hain," before they would tell her that you are very thin. So this is what our society accepts. This is a norm which we think is normal, which is never normal. When I go abroad, my abdomen size decreases because the diet changes. When I used to take Mr. VP Singh to Mayo Clinic, stay there for 3 months, my belt size used to decrease by 3 inches, 2.5 inches, because the right kind of diet I used to consume. So it's the diet which gives us bad shape. It's the diet which gives our vessels a plaque. It's the diet which gives our cerebral vessels a stroke. It's the diet which makes us stressful. So diet, as very rightly discussed in the forum, we have to change our dietary traits. We have to change our dietary habits, and none of the shapes are normal, whether it's truncal obesity or obesity at the hips, obesity at the upper part of the body. Any form of obesity is bad, and 20% more death. This was again the Mayo Clinic data, that 20% deaths post-COVID also were exaggerated in after the COVID. So this obesity, people were at risk. I had an obese patient during COVID. He was a young man, and he went out for washroom, and his oxygen saturation, none of you will believe, was 50. How much it was, Sadaji? 45. And he went out and came back and collapsed. So this is obesity, not COVID. So he collapsed because of weight, not because of COVID severity. So this is how we learn day to day. And somehow we have accepted the norms which are not normal. So we have to go for, if not ideal, near ideal. So that's how we can achieve. And this starts at college life or school life. So whenever I go to a good school where the children from the flourished family or high income group families are there, I find 30 to 40% children are overweight, right at class 8, 9, 10. So we have to prevent it at a school level, educate them by their teachers, And that is the point where we have to attack this problem. Otherwise, this is going to kill us. And in countries like India, we have already become diabetic capital. We are having maximum number of cardiac deaths, sudden cardiac deaths, heart disease, even rheumatic heart disease, which sir has mentioned some causes of other than CAD. So it's a very bad scenario, sir. And I wish your channel good luck for propagating this positive message.
Thank you.
Making people aware. Making people aware of this deadly preventable problem, and we can do certain things. When Dr. Naresh Rihan talks, I feel very happy when he stresses that this is what is preventable. Heart disease is preventable. My brother-in-law had a heart attack 2 days back in the night, and he is still smoking. What is the use? This is what is happening in our families, with our own people. without realizing the importance how we can achieve health by simple things. We are burning. I give example on this World Tobacco Day. I take a 500 rupees note and show it on TV, fold it like a cigarette, and I will say nobody will put fire in this 500 rupees note and smoke it, because he knows this is money, this is valuable. But we are putting the same fire into our body, into our lungs, into our coronaries, into our muscles. We are sending that smoke every day without realizing that it is killer. So we have to know, sir, sorry for being a little emotional.
No.
This is preventable. That's why I'm holding my patients back and talking on this forum that let this message be out. It is preventable. We need life support systems at the public places, defibrillators, and we have to teach people to the extent of madness. CPR is to be learned by everyone who is sane, to the extent that we should be talking about it till most of us come to know how the CPR is attempted, and we can save a life. If some lives can be saved, it is worth it.
Thank you, Dr. Thank you, Dr. Wali. I think I can sense your passion in all this, and it's quite right. Preventive college is important. So, Dr. Goel, now once a person gets a,
I'll take your leave, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Dr. Goel, once a person knows that he has got a risk through your calculator, do you also advise certain things like modification in diet or certain changes that he should do immediately, or is it just a risk calculator that he gets? Yes, you're at risk.
No, right question asked. Actually, the motivation for us to provide the heart risk calculator is basically to guide people forward. And as I mentioned, the risk calculator does not diagnose anything. It just provides a potential possibility of risk based on the parameters which the person has provided or measured. And based on those parameters, let's say you are healthy. It does not matter if you are at a very, very minute risk and you are just identified as hypertensive, but everything else is okay. And the heart calculator will tell you are okay for 10 years trajectory if you're 25 years old. But even then, a person can go forward and what we call heart health management module. So you get the risk score, which is heart health meter. Then you go to heart health management module, in which we manage your hypertension, we manage your obesity, we manage your visceral fat, and we try to manage multiple factors by giving you advice on two factors: your lifestyle, which is your what kind of exercise, if you're able to do it, whether you want to do walking or swimming or running, you can choose what you want to do, and also on the food habits, from morning breakfast to evening snack to dinner to lunch. We have a fully built the diet management module where we provide recommendations and people can choose. We have different options, which region you are from India, what kind of food you eat. So you can basically follow that. Finally, what we also provide is a nutritional counseling as well as a cardiologist consultation if you are at high risk. And if you really want to take expert advice, whether about food or about the care, you can connect to them through our app itself. So we provide the entire management module. And I also want to say one sentence, I think, which everybody listening to all the eminent speaker here, I think in India, and myself included growing up, everybody knows what is good for you. I think we have to change our habits at home. Our parents should start telling us, no, you don't have to eat butter and ghee and makhan because that will improve your, you will look better. This is good for your heart, good for your health. That is what I grew up listening, that you need to eat more. You need to eat this ghee. You need to eat this sugar because that is good for you, right? I think we need to change that mentality. Our culture should change at home. And again, everything else, your school, your education. But we believe as IHL right now that we want to inform everyone in their own privacy setting and then let them take the decisions on their own. So we just want to show them the mirror. After that, if you still want to go and eat fried food or you want to still don't do anything, that's fine. But you can at least get to know that if I did not do anything, my risk was 6% and now it's 21% and now it's 40%. I better do something. Otherwise, there will not be any calculator for me to see.
Well, and does the calculator also take in factors which are not body concern, in the sense like, lack of sleep or lack of friends, loneliness, depression? Does it take that also into consideration?
The heart risk does not, but we also have a overall what we call health score. But rightly said, we have a environmental factor, social well-being factor, as you rightly said. There are various things, even the pollution impact your life, right? So we do provide overall the health score, because heart health is not the only disease you're prone to, right? So we do that. In that case, we do environmental, social, clinical, and general care.
Thank you. Well, that's wonderful. Speaking of pollution, I'll come to the last question to both Dr. Dheeraj and Dr. Azam. What is the role of pollution and heart attack? Because there are various studies which show that your lifespan can reduce by 10 years or 5 years in places like Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata, and other places. And is it right that you're calling pollution with heart attack? Dr. Dheeraj.
Yeah, sir. Pollution itself, that more of the heart attacks are occurring in the urban areas where there is a extensive air pollution occurring. And it is seen all around the world. You are rightly pointed out, there are studies which have shown that it shortens your lifespan. It makes you prone not only to heart disease, not only to the lung disease, but it also clogs your thinking, your ability to think, your ability to imbibe new ideas, your ability to learn. So it affects all the organs of the body. You feel lethargic after not inhaling a good air. So that's equivalent to smoking, actually, I would say. So it has been a risk factor for heart disease and the lung disease also. So we should have a healthy environment. We should have the breathable air, which I would suggest all of us should go on. And another thing, sir, because this is the forum which is for learning, I would suggest that Indians, sir, heart attack patterns are something different. It's not only the chest pain. I would like to suggest here the acidity, hyperacidity, which people keep talking. I have seen my patients coming to give a history that whole night I was having a acidity which was not relieved by usual medications. So in India, at least in the urban areas, we have places wherein in 5 to 10 minutes you can get an ECG done, you can get your troponins done, and you are sure that you do not have a heart disease, because heart attack means effect on your muscle. So if you reach early, you have a primary angioplasty, which is there within 60 to 90 minutes, your heart will be as normal as before. Your muscle will not be damaged. So don't sit at home. The other presentations of heart attack would be just a faintness, just a giddiness, just a abnormal sweating, and even the heart rate going down and heart rate going up abnormally. These could be symptoms. You must get yourself evaluated. So these are the things which must be taught to the people. Not only the chest pain, there are other methods of presentation of heart attack also. And I would add one more thing, sir, Dr. Wali, which is pointed out: sedentary habits. If you look at the research, so 36% of the deaths in men and 38% of the deaths in women, they are solely attributed to sedentary habits. So these all things should be avoided.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Dr. Azam, the last word from you regarding pollution. Now, what Dr. Dheeraj said, yes, we need, it is a right to a pollution-free atmosphere and other areas. But people who stay in cities like Delhi, Mumbai, and other places seldom can claim a right on this particular right. So people who are staying in these cities, how can they access good air?
The only thing you can probably do until you start planting trees and stop living in a concrete jungle is wear a mask. Because unfortunately, pollution is the new smoking. So it's quite sad that even though you don't smoke, you've never smoked, you've never held a cigarette, you take a walk around a city as polluted as Delhi, you'll probably take in enough particulates equivalent to smoking a single cigarette. So it's a very sad state of affairs. It's probably the cost of urbanization, the cost of cutting down in the environment. Being impudent in the zeal of building more and more buildings, having a more and more posher lifestyle, staying away from our roots. We are probably living in the most Alexa and Google Home enabled homes today, but we don't have a single tree in our in our entire apartment complex or in our own homes. This is the, I mean, if until you have this, and the solution, if you tell people, you're having so much pollution around you, their solution will be, let's get an air purifier. I mean, air purifiers are not going to help you until you start planting trees. The biggest air purifier is the one that God Himself has given you, and that's a plant. You have chopped those plants that cost you nothing, and you're now replacing it with air purifiers that cost you tens of thousands and do hardly anything. For a healthy person, you and me, air purifiers really don't help much. They're more of something for a psychological happiness for us, that okay, we are doing something. But other than that, uh, ultimately, until and unless we reduce the amount of particulates, especially these less than 2.5 micron particulates that can really do the same kind of havoc in your body as smoking does. They trigger inflammation, and they can even trigger coronary inflammation and increase the rate of coronary events. And they have found that there was a study that was done, published in 2018, came in circulation, that showed that people living along the highways had a greater incidence of coronary disease than those living inside rural areas. Now, if you remember, in the days when we were kids, every house used to have an angan in the middle. Every house used to have a garden. There used to be trees around every home. Every apartment, even though there were no apartments, and few apartments that were there, used to have a lot of trees around. Now, the population has gone up. The amount of people moving into urban areas has gone up. Urban areas itself have extended for longer. And unfortunately, there are rules, there are laws that that say that this much percentage of greenery has to be there, but unfortunately nobody follows them. There are ways, people find ways to circumvent laws. People find ways to circumvent this. They're not understanding that what they're doing by this is injuring their health and injuring the health of their future generations to come. So we probably should take a stand to make a change. Get greenery into your lives. Try to keep portable plants, indoor plants in your own house. Try to plant trees and any kind of plants in your own apartment complex. Try to do that at least once a year. Nurture them, let them grow. That's the best possible thing that you can do. Short of leaving the city and going back into the rural areas, which might not be a practical option.
Yeah, that's right.
Bringing greenery back into our lives is probably the best thing that you can do to combat it. But other than that, if you're living in a polluted environment and you're going out, wear a mask. People might feel कि अरे भाई COVID गया, आप क्यों mask पहने? Masks help in a lot of ways, bringing down allergies, fighting pollutants, and fighting against particulates also. So that's probably the one thing that you can do.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Azam. I think the only thing that Alexa cannot do is to give you fresh air when you order the tube. I think that's the most difficult thing to do. Thank you. We are running short of time. It was a wonderful episode, 13th episode. And if the heart is in trouble, the heart has its reason. And the reason is absolutely lies in you. Unless you make the first step to change, unless you get yourself tested, unless you get into preventive cardiology and use apps like getting preventive steps, that's most important. And the first move has to be done by people themselves. As all the speakers agreed, it is not an overnight ailment. It is an ailment that builds up over the years. Thank you very much for being with us and sharing your knowledge on heart ailments and preventive steps to be taken. Thank you, and see you in the next episode. Namaskar.
Thank you. Appreciate it.